What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Chemical Guys Detail Garage. How many times have any of us woken up coming out to our car and seen that someone has backed into it or scratched it trying to parallel park? And that's the exact same case with this Hyundai Sonata. The owner lives in an apartment and it sits on the street where it looks like someone carelessly scratched the side of the vehicle. It could have been a car, could have been a passing bicycle, but it's got these fine scratches down the quarter panel, the bumper, as well as into the rear door here. And we're going to show you one of the most effective ways to remove it. Now, obviously polishing is going to remove it all, but since there's some superficial scratches here, I'm going to show you that maybe we can possibly hide it with just a glaze, such as blacklight, which has fillers to help magnify the gloss. It helps deepen the glow, but it's also going to help mask the minor scratches and swirls to kind of blend the finish if you don't have access to a polisher. Now, obviously, to begin, we're going to clean the surface of any surface debris, bird droppings, anything, because we need to thoroughly inspect the paint. And also we're going to move on to a light clay bar surface. But to begin, we're going to use a favorite of mine, synthetic quick detail spray, and just spray it on the surface. This is a great way to remove fingerprints, bird droppings, or anything else that's on the surface in between washes, or in a case like this where you're going to inspect the paint. I like to keep a bottle of this in my car for when I'm going somewhere, just to keep it looking its best. You can see it just wipes off anything that's on the surface nice and easily. Looks like a little tree sap or bee poop there. Just saturate it and then just come over it and gently wipe it away. We can see that there's these fine little hairs that are coming off, which is actually just a very fine scratch that's pulling off a little bit of the clear coat. So we have to be careful what we're removing today. But polishing is going to refine the finish just like we do when we're doing any kind of paint correction. It's going to blend the whole surface in a uniform shine. So to get started, we'll give it a quick clay bar treatment to remove any impurities so we're not creating any pigtails, and then we can move on to the polishing process. Now you see I've just completed a light clay bar treatment, and that has prepped the surface by pulling off any of the embedded contaminants. Now the surface is nice and slick, but before we go ahead and do our actual polishing or glazing step, I'm going to use wipeout. And this is just a further step to basically prep the surface by removing any body oils or any kind of excess residue from the clay or anything else that could be on the surface. This way we're getting a true polish or a true bond between glazes, sealants, waxes. And this is also a good step to practice when you're applying a coating such as Carbon Flex C9, or if you have a carbon or ceramic coating, because anything that's left on the surface can either harm it while you're polishing, or it's going to get trapped and locked underneath there after you've applied your coatings. So you see that the scratches are still there. Clay, all that's doing is basically prepping the surface. It doesn't do any polishing. That's an old misconception when clay used to have abrasives in there, but new age clay, it's just a synthetic material that pulls off embedded contaminants. So like I mentioned, I'm going to apply a glaze here just to show you a little 50-50 what it can basically do. It'll mask the minor scratches because, as you see here, these are very fine, but in some areas you can still catch it on your fingernail, so it's still going to require a polish. But if you don't have access to a polisher, or you're kind of in a time crunch, you can always put on a glaze to help mask it and make it look its best. So what we have here is blacklight. This is one of my favorite glazes. It's a lot of favorites for a lot of people because it helps to enhance any color really, but it's designed specifically for dark color cars. We'll just apply a little bit to this applicator pad. You can use a foam or a microfiber applicator pad. Just do a little bit since we're only working in a small area here. I'll just basically blotch it down on the surface, and this only takes about 15 minutes to cure. So while that's happening, we'll go ahead and set up our machine so we can start on the rest of the car, the rest of the area here rather. And then I'll show you this once it's completely cured. And then we'll probably polish over this anyways just so we get a complete uniform shine here. But in this area that's this small, since it's basically just the quarter panel, the bumper, and just a very fine scratch on the door, you can also hand polish this. But for the best results, I always recommend machine polishing. This removes just enough clear coat, but it's consistently to give you the best results. So while this is curing, let's go grab our machine and then we can start with the polishing step. Now we've given blacklight about 15 minutes to cure to the surface, and you can see it has this very fine haze to it. I just applied a very fine coat, which is saving product, it saves time, but more importantly, only the first initial layer is going to be bonding to the surface. Everything else is just being wasted. So a fine coat is saving you time, effort, and obviously money. So it's cured to the surface. Now we'll take a clean microfiber towel and buff away the excess. And it may be hard to tell on camera, but the paint on one side has a very nice definitive dark area, and on the other side you can still see those scratches. Again, it's probably going to be hard for you guys at home to see, but this is just a way to kind of diminish the look. It kind of helps to mask it and also make the car look its best. But if you have access to a polisher, that's the best way to go, because that's going to remove the scratches by evening out the clear coat. So with that being said, let's move over to our TORQ 10 effects, which I have fitted a 5-inch microfiber pad because in my experience with the very fine superficial scratches and the ones that are actually pulling clear coat like this one is, this kind of helps to create enough heat to kind of blend the paint back together instead of pulling it off and then creating a deeper scratch or basically pulling too much material. So I'll also be using one of my go-to polishes, and that's V36. This is basically a fine cutting polish, so it'll diminish the scratches, but it also finishes nicely so you don't have to follow it up with a second polish or compound it again or anything like that. So once you get the right technique, basically you can do this all in one, get your paint looking its best no matter what the color is or how bad your scratches and swirls are. So if you notice, loading up a microfiber pad is a little bit different from your traditional foam pad because it has all these fine microfiber hairs which you need to kind of spread the polish out evenly on. So I'm just using my finger to spread it out, kind of work it into the pad. But as always, we'll spray a little bit of pad conditioner on there because these create a little bit more heat than your foam pad does. So to reduce any marring or excess heat, a little bit of pad conditioner keeps it nice and moist. It also helps the chemical or your compound or polish to do its job, thoroughly break down, and then get the best results. So as I mentioned, I already applied blacklight to this small section over here, and it's masked the fine superficial scratches on this side, but there's still some deeper ones, so we're still going to polish it using our TORQ 10 effects. And I'm going to go over the blacklighted area because I want to get the best results, so it's going to have a uniform shine. So whether you have a coating of sealant, glaze, or wax, or whether you have a coating of carbon or ceramic, polishing is going to remove that. So keep that in mind, because if you just apply a fresh layer, it's going to remove all of that. Then to get started, we're just going to blotch this out just like we always do. And we'll spread it out on the lowest speed setting. And then on the highest speed setting, we'll do our polishing. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. This is a dual action, so if you keep it at an extreme angle or if you're pressing too hard, it's going to slow it down or stall the pad, which is not polishing. Or if you come up against a sharp edge like the body line here, that's also an area to keep in mind because the paint is going to be thinner on this area than it is on the side panels or any other panel in general. But just be careful, take your time, because polishing is an art that takes practice, it takes technique, and also takes a lot of patience to get it right. So I'm going to work on this, and then we'll give you guys the before and after. But if you guys want to check out these products or learn more about this, head over to our website, chemicalguys.com. If you like this car or if you have a scratch, drop a comment down below, give it a thumbs up, and as always, we'll see you guys next time right here in the Detail Garage.